45.6 billion won is the grand prize if you're the winner of Squid Game. And don't worry if you haven't watched the Netflix series just yet, there are going to be no spoilers in this video. It's going to be purely financial, as if I was the winner of Squid Game, winning the equivalent of roughly 38 million US dollars. And we're going to cover 7 different ways I'd consider investing this money. So with that, we'll get straight into it. We'll be looking at ways to invest this money, not necessarily keep it in cash. Inflation is the phenomenon of losing purchasing power over time, and it's on average 2 to 3% per year. Keeping $38 million in cash at the rate of 2%, you're losing $760,000 in purchasing power. And if it's 3%, you're losing more than $1 million. With 24 hours in a day at 3%, you're losing $130 without doing anything else different. Assuming an inflation rate of 3%, that $38 million in cash will only be worth the equivalent of $36,860,000 1 year from now. They say with more return, there's usually more risk attributed with it, and each of the ways we're going to cover, it's progressively going to get higher and higher in terms of the rate of return, so just a heads up there. Our first approach we'll look at is going to be the stock market. The S&P 500 is an index that tracks 500 large companies in the United States. Some of those companies are going to be Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, and more. Over the last 100 years, it's returned on average around 7 to 8% every single year. Putting $38 million straight into the S&P 500 on an annual basis is going to yield us roughly between $2.5 and $3 million. Without any extra active work, this really is passive income, and every month you're looking at 200K plus in terms of growth, and at 24 hours in a day, you're looking at every single hour roughly $300. The market has its ups and downs, and this definitely is an average. There's a way to invest into the S&P 500 in such a way that any money you put in, you can just never touch it and just live off of the growth. This rule, it's famously known as the 4% rule. With the market growing on average 7 to 8% every year, if you withdraw 4% or less, it's been proven that you will never ever run out of money. Withdrawing 4% annually, we're looking at paying ourselves roughly $1.5 million. Each month, that's around $125,000, and every day, we're looking around 4K. Moving on to our second way, when you invest money with a company and they return some of that capital to you, essentially in a form of profit sharing / a thank you for investing with them, there's a concept known as dividends. Not every company pays a dividend, but on average with the S&P 500, that dividend percentage looks like this. Let's say we're still invested with the S&P 500, but don't want to follow the 4% rule and want to be just a little more conservative. The dividend yield of the S&P 500 is 1.32%, which means for every dollar you put in, every single year, you'll be getting back 1.32%. With this being the current rate, you're looking at $500,000 a year and roughly $42,000 a month. You can also invest into individual companies that pay dividends and kind of create a rate that makes sense for you. Let's say we're investing into different companies and end up with a blended yield of 5%. At 5%, we're looking at almost a couple $1 million in cash flow per year. Every single day, that's a little more than $5,000. Next up, we got cryptocurrency. And the way we'll tackle this is going to be similar to looking at the ways to actually get cash flow in order to live a certain lifestyle based on our $38 million. Similar to dividends in the stock market, there's something known as staking rewards in the cryptocurrency market. Just like having money in a company, you have money in a certain coin. For all intensive purposes, if we're looking at a blended rate of 5% again, we're looking at the same output as we would have got with dividends in the stock market. Next up, we'll be looking at interest. If you have US dollars in a savings account, you're not really earning any interest at all whatsoever, and it's closer to 0%. But in the world of crypto, this isn't the case. Depending on what crypto you have, but taking a competitive rate of 8% in terms of interest, you're looking at around $3 million per year that's there on top of the $38 million we already have. Every month, that's $250,000 in terms of cash flow, and every day, we're talking about around $8,000. Switching to a different asset class altogether, it's going to be real estate. You have multiple ways to make money in real estate, but keeping it simple, we're going to be looking at rental cash flow specifically. Your property can go up as well, and that's going to be growth, but specifically from what's coming in every month, let's look at the numbers. There's a common goal in real estate investing to earn 1% every single month. It's a huge generalization, but looking at it every single year, that's $4.5 million. And every hour of every day is $500 plus even when you're sleeping. Taking it even further but keeping it high level, there's something known as options, both within the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. It's definitely quite risky, and returns are definitely going to be depending on the individual. That being said, there are some conservative ways to make money with options, and some of the percentages, for example, are here. 24% here takes an average of 2% a month, and 36% takes an average of 3% a month. On an annual basis, you're talking around $10 million. Depending on the strategy, that could be almost $1 million a month, with every day being roughly $30,000. Now, what if you don't care about making more money from the money you already have? Well, you probably bought a lot of time that you can use to do even free things and become skilled at it. For example, beatboxing. Essentially, you can invest in yourself where you can improve upon those skills you've always wanted to, or spend time on certain items that you've always been looking forward to. And more than investing in yourself, you can also use that newly found time or funds to help others, or do any other type of items you wish. You can pretty much do whatever you want, but with that, I'm not a financial advisor. Anything I shared here today is for entertainment purposes only. With that, thanks for coming to the end.